Atlantean oak, which will be on the blog. There's two compendiums with this. One would be an interview that I'll be doing today, actually, very soon. It's a Zoom video recorded interview with my friend Ted Hand in Sonoma, California. He'll be posting it on his YouTube channel, and I'll provide a link with it. And then there is a blog article, which I'm going to read from a little bit here. Maybe not the whole thing. I apologize from reading from script, but it's difficult to completely memorize this, and I want to make sure that information is concise. I'll be doing the same thing on the Zoom interview. Hopefully, in time, I'll have completely memorized my own material that I've created. But without further ado, let's dive into this. We're talking about divination today. Now, divination is mostly known to people in the form of the tarot deck, which I do have in the back, and I'll show you real quick. Let's just do a quick sample of this first. So sometimes when I find myself hitting the wall with different life problems and logic fails me, I turn to divination. I don't like to use it all the time. It's a sort of cheating, I guess you could think of it as that. I don't want to become over-reliant on any one thing. I like to trust my own intuition, and logical mind, of course, is very useful in most problems that we face as humans. And the problems are endless, right? The problems are endless. Sometimes my logic just doesn't cut it. So I open up to that intuitive realm, and then I use logic and cross-referencing, symbolism, more intuition, and I kind of try to piece together what's going on in my life right now, what just happened recently, and what's going to happen in the future, or what steps can I take now to secure a certain kind of future, at least have a better chance, based on what just happened in the past, and based on what's happening in the current moment, or the energy, the vibe, whatever you want to call it. So check this out. I found a way to do this rather inexpensive manner. Of course, the Rider Tarot deck is the original, right? By far my favorite. I think it's only about $20. Different versions of it exist. My friend has his own version of it that I would like to share with you, and I will put in a link in the bottom. It's a little more expensive, but it's just handcrafted. I mean, he created a whole deck of tarot with his own art. So it's about $60 or so. And there's other versions of this that are similar. They're more artistic. The Rider Waite Tarot deck, of course, is just the original. I also use standard playing cards. You can pick these up anywhere for $5 to $7. And I have created another version of divination with these cards. Anything that has a number can be used, is how I see it. And I like things that are easy to access. You can go to almost any store and pick it up and get started. Some things like the Rider Waite Tarot deck, well, if you don't have that specific item, you're out of luck. So I like things that are easily accessible, inexpensive, and relatively easy to use. The only thing that cannot be replicated easily is the way that I go about my process. And I'll get into it as we go along. Of course, this is the crux of it, right? This is the main thing that we're focusing on, is dice. This is a set of colored dice. So you just roll one time. That's it. I'm going to create other versions. I'll create an actual product at some point. For now, it's just showing you how I do it, offering that for free, and allowing you to create your own readings. And then eventually in time, I do believe that I will offer a service of doing readings. I'm still formulating it and really perfecting it. So bear with me. For now, at least you have something to chew on, is how I see it. How does marbles fit into it? Good question. This is a totally different type of divination. It is totally intuitive. And it has a very little bit based in logic, which is, there was a name for this that said, oh, this represents the sun. And these represent meteorites. So one night I held them in my hand, and I came up with a prophecy for something that's going to happen in about 300 years in our solar system. It has to do with our sun and the possibility of meteorites being able to get through our magnetic sphere, which is depleted on Earth. But that's neither here nor there, and it's not very fun, so maybe I'll leave that out. What I'm saying is you can be creative. And lastly, gemstones. Not lastly, I've got one more thing. I'm going to run and get it. I apologize, I don't have the prop ready. Bear with me. There are actually other many reference materials that I use. But I get into symbolism, Hinduism, yoga literary concepts, ancient cultures, numerology, dice, angel numbers, feng shui numbers. I really am taking a wide variety of things and cross-referencing them, and then using intuition based on the number that's presented to come up with some kind of delineated list, and then you create a reading from that. Try to make it as uncomplicated as possible, but it is a bit complicated. Symbols, of course, very useful. Ancient yoga literature, such as the Vedas. I have a lot of other reference material, and I suppose that's the thing that's hard to replicate, is that I'm pulling from so many different sources. You don't know exactly which one they are. So there you go. Let's dive in a little bit to this reading that I did. Okay, so the very first divination session I did with dice, I did it on myself, and I give you permission to do readings on yourself if you want. Who cares? Right? Oh, it's not going to work. It's not as, you know what? I don't like to live like that. It worked for me. I don't see why it couldn't work for you. I came up with a reading that seemed pretty accurate, and every time I do tarot readings on myself, they're super accurate. Like, it blows my mind. I can't even understand how it works. There's something to it. That's all I gotta say. So I used 10 six-sided dice. I rolled them one time. I separate the dice and group them by number, such as I rolled 3 5s, 2 6. Actually, let's get into the specific one of it. I rolled one of the 1 dice. I rolled one of the 2 dice. Of the dice with 3 on it, I rolled 1. The dice with the 4 on it, I rolled 2. The dice with 5-sided, 3 of them. 6, 2 of them. And then I total them all up, and so the total of this particular roll was 41. And in numerology, amongst other things, it means luck. Or I thought that was interesting. Irish luck. So let's, without being overly complex, and I won't give you all of the reference sources to keep the video relatively short, and I have to get ready for this next video. All is one. Absolute Brahman, the formless God. I thought that was great. All is one. 1 dice, 1 of 1 dice. Synchronicity? I think so. Of the dice with 2 on it, I rolled 1. And again, this is loose. It doesn't have to be perfectly matched. You can kind of play with it. I think that that's okay. I give you permission, and I give me permission to do that. I chose Om and Prem. So 2 words. The word in divine love. I have another correlation, which is Yakim and Boaz, which is from the Freemasonry tradition, and it is 2 pillars. Om and Prem are synchronistic to those 2 pillars, in my opinion. I sometimes make leaps and make connections simply based on intuition, but also logic, because there's 2. Om is the word of God, and Prem is divine love. They go together. My teacher used to say that often as a sort of a signature at the end of his publications, any kind of little letter that he would write. For the dice that has 3 on it, I rolled 1. I chose the power of 3. And in this instance, Triguna, the 3 gunas. And then Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So I chose 3 things, but that's okay. Self-realization for number 4. I rolled 2 of those dice. Sorry, self-realization, the Upanishads, and the ashram. My ashram, future ashram. So the first one, the self revealed in 4 ways. This is from yoga. The eternal witness, the governor, the protector, and the enjoyer. Specifically, anything that has to do with the self, with the capital S, is from the Upanishads. That's where that really flowered, the source that became the flower. The other one is my ashram. I have, interestingly enough, there's 4 tenets that are sort of the backbone or the foundation, my mission statement, whatever you want to call it. I call it teaching, serving, knowledge, space. Now for number 5, I rolled 3. 5 on the dice, 3 rolls, or 3 dice. Pancha Mahabhutas, or the 5 elements. Earth, air, fire, water, and ether. Every tradition has a different version of this. That's from the yoga tradition. Pancha Kosha, the 5 koshas. Those are the etheric bodies that surround, in layers, our own physical body. They are called Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya, which means it's the food sheath, our physical body, the prana sheath, which is like chi, energy. That's the second one. Manomaya is the mind or the intellect, which we'll get into that later, but they are actually different. Vijnanamaya, sort of a wisdom, a little bit different, but similar to intelligence. And Anandamaya, which is like total bliss, euphoria. I guess that's nirvana, enlightenment. Panchabheda, the 5 differences. This again comes from the yoga tradition. Let's just say the yoga tradition for now. Soul and soul, matter and matter, soul and matter, soul and God, matter and God. My teacher, Sant Keshavdas, elaborated on that quite a bit in his book called Self-Realization, which I'll put a link down there. References are good. Of the dice with 6 on it, I rolled 1. I chose protection, completion, perfection, power. Some of that's from numerology, some from other sources. Sometimes I just do an intuitive leap. It's not necessarily specifically what that line's on, although I'll find several different things, and then I'll say, maybe all of those are valid. And that's the case of that. I'm sorry, I actually rolled 2 dice of this, not 1. So the second, I chose a numerology type-based reading for the first explanation. The second was the Star of David and the second chakra. Again, I'm fudging a little bit on exactly 2. I would just say that the encompassing theme of the Star of David and the second chakra is protection, completion, perfection, and power. Although the second chakra is slightly different, as it's the emotional seat, the reproductive seat of the human body in energetic form. If you want, you can look more up on the meaning of the Star of David, which is also called the Shield of David and the Seal of Solomon. Now that is a specifically protection-based glyph or sigil. It is a 6-pointed star, and even in the Hindu tradition, it also has a similar meaning. It also has a correlation between fire, the upward pointing triangle, and water, the downward pointing triangle. It's a sort of perfect balance. Now, with number 41, again, came to be luck. So I said, ooh, prestige, luck. How interesting. So I did explain how I came to the readings, more or less. I sort of take all these different traditions, and then I pluck, pluck, put them together, use my own mind and intuition, come up with an explanation. It doesn't have to be a perfect science. I mean, you can just make it fun. It can just be fun. Don't take it too seriously, I suppose, is sort of where I'm going with this. That's it. And I would just say the conclusion that I wrote on this and that I'll probably do in the other video is that creatively seeking enlightenment is what I'm doing here. It's not just divination. You are stretching your mind. You're cross-referencing. You're using more than one tradition. You are using different sides of your brain: emotional, the intellectual, the logical, the intuitive, the artistic, the creative, color, light, sound. You can incorporate all these different things into it and make it your own. So with that said, expand your consciousness. Boom. Hope you got something out of this. And until next time,